Happy Grandparents' Day. Welcome and thank you for joining us to honor our grandparents either in person or via Zoom. I am Harrison Kaneko and I'll be serving as your MC for this Dharma service. We wish to express our deepest gratitude to all grandmas and grandpas for nurturing our families with such warmth and compassion. You are the family's greatest treasures, and your special love and caring helps to strengthen family bonds. Let's give a round of applause to honor all grandparents. Amidst our celebration, on a more somber note, let us also take time to honor the memory of all the victims of the 9/11 tragedy in 2001, as well as those who lost their lives in the Lahaina wildfires a month ago. Per Reverend Blaine, with the Dharma as our guide, we will walk the Nembutsu path. Let us reflect on the conditions for peace and extend loving kindness and compassion to all who are experiencing suffering in our world today. Namo Amida Butsu. Assisting at the temple with technical support is the Zoom team of Alan Matsumoto and Darren and Lynn Katayama. Betty Takeoko will lead the singing. Please rise and let us start the service with the Vandana and Tisarana. Please chant both the Pali and English parts together with Reverend Blaine. Those of you on Zoom, be sure to have your mics muted.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, dhammam saranam gacchami, sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namanda, Butsu Namanda, Butsu Namanda, Butsu Namanda, Butsu Namanda.
Please remain standing. Auntie Betty and Kira Nishihara Estrada will now share an aspiration.
Okay, this morning, our aspiration is going to be sung instead of just listened to. So you have the words in front of you. It's called the Happy Grandparents' Day song. And the tune is singing like Happy Birthday. Okay, so some of you have heard this before, but Kira and I will lead you. Okay, ready, Kira? Happy Grandparents' Day. Happy Grandparents' Day. Thanks for all the love and care, and for always being there. Happy Grandparents' Day. Happy Grandparents' Day. Gratitude we owe to you. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Betty and Kira. You may now be seated. It is now time for the offering of incense. We invite all Sangha members in attendance to please come up and offer incense if you wish, starting with the front rows and moving towards the back. Please use both incense burners. Let us now observe a moment of silent meditation.
Namandam, 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 namandam.
Reverend Blaine will now lead us in chanting Gasho to Amida. Words can be found on the laminated handouts in the back of the pews and on the screen.
Composed by the Reverend Kenru Suji, Gasho Tomida is a hymn that praises the Buddha of infinite light and life and celebrates the activity of great compassion which sustains our lives. This hymn reminds us that we should humbly approach life with our palms pressed together in reverence, gratitude, and joy. We chant these words so that we may hear the Dharma and awaken to the virtues of the Buddha. May our voices together express our profound gratitude and appreciation for the Buddha's great benevolence. Namo Amida Butsu. I recite Amida's name with deep joy and gratitude. I gasho to Amida. Trees and grasses and flowers all grow in great compassion. This light shines throughout the world. I gasho to Amida. Flowers bloom and flowers fall. From the seed sprout new flowers. This is the truth unchanging. I gasho to Amida. Springtime brings the happy birds. Their songs all praise Amida. I join them in Nembutsu. I gasho to Amida. When I call Amida's name, it's Amida calling. one. Ainga shotu amida. When I'm lonely, I recite Namo Amida Butsu. Then I feel great compassion. Ainga shotu amida. Nembutsu in work and play. Every day with amida. Every moment filled with light. Ainga shotu amida. Remember the golden chain. Kindness to all living things. I will follow this teaching. Ainga shotu amida. In the clear, bright morning sun, in the fading light of day, in the darkness of the night, Ainga shotu amida. Namo Amida Butsu. I live in great compassion. This great power guides my life. Ainga shotu amida. The virtue of Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namanabu, 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 namanabu.
Please rise for singing of the Gatha, a special place. Words can be found on the handouts.
Okay, we don't have an organist today, so we just have to do our best with the melody. Okay, those of you who know this song, please sing out loudly so the rest of You can follow along, okay? Ready? If you don't sing loud, I'm going to make you sing it twice, okay? Okay, ready, good. There is a square upon the floor, an island in a sea, a place I visit every week, a spot that's just for me. When I sit upon that square, I leave my cares outside. All anger is forgotten. The Dharma is my guide. There is a special something here. It's something you can see. For kindness lives within this place. It lives inside of me. Amida stands inside the shrine, a smile upon his face. I smile right back. I'm glad to be here in this special place. Now there's time to sit and think of all that I can do to care for those around me each day the whole week through. This is a home to gentle thoughts when sitting quietly. For kindness lives within this place, it lives inside of me. It lives inside of me. Okay, good job. You don't have to sing it twice.
Please be seated. Now I'd like to introduce our special guest speaker, Mrs. Nancy Shimamoto from Honolulu. She is Auntie Betty's older sister and is a very active member of the Miloli'i Honganji. Mrs. Shimamoto was born and raised in Kona. Her parents were Gilbert Gisaburo and Aiko Yamane. She attended Kona Honganji in the days of her youth, picked Kona coffee, and graduated from Konawaina High School in 1958. She was employed by the Hawaii Department of Education for 38 years. Her career in her career as an educator began as a classroom teacher at numerous Oahu schools, evolved into a vice principal position, and ended as a principal of Haina Elementary School. She retired in the year 2000. Mrs. Shimamoto was a past president of Miloli'i Honganji and still serves on its board of directors. She was also a past president of the Honolulu Honganji Council and currently serves as its secretary. Aside from her Honganji life, Mrs. Shimamoto is also very involved with the Kuakini health system. She serves on its board of directors, is chairman of the Kuakini Foundation, past president and advisor of the Kuakini Auxiliary, and serves as a hospital volunteer. In addition, she also keeps busy as the current secretary of the Honolulu Hiroshima Kenjin-kai and parliamentarian of Mu Chapter Delta Kappa Gamma, a professional women's educators organization for which she also served as past president. Mrs. Shimamoto is the mother of 3 sons and a grandmother of 3. She enjoys traveling and has toured many countries around the world with her late husband. Her favorite destination is Japan, where she visited 18 times so far. She enjoys meeting people, socializing, reading, writing, watching K dramas, and being with her grandchildren. Please give a warm welcome to Mrs. Nancy Shimamoto.
Daddy, do I step up? Make me look taller, right? Wow, Harrison, who's that person you introduced? I can't believe it, but thank you so much for a nice introduction. Betty, thank you for writing it up. Good morning, everybody. This temple, feels like home to me. Of course, many, many familiar faces. And so this is where actually I attended Sunday school until I graduated from high school. Back then, decisions were done very quickly. I was given a choice by my wise dad. He said, attend Sunday school or pick coffee. Yeah? So simple, you know what my choice was. Now, many decades later, I am on this very special Sunday. This is Grandparents' Day. I'm very, very honored to be here as your lay speaker. Thanks goes to my sister Betty and Reverend Blaine, who encouraged me to come a week earlier. And they didn't really know what they were asking for, because poor Betty, I'm housed over there. And Norman, thank you, Norman. 1 week is a stretch. I hope they can last. I know I will. So I guess it was a no-brainer since I was coming here to Kona anyway for the lay convention that's coming up this coming weekend. Now, back in 1978, President Jimmy Carter, who's not very well right now, but he's still hanging on in there, he made a proclamation designating the first Sunday after Labor Day in September as Grandparents' Day. We had Mother's Day, we had Father's Day, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and all the other days. But grandparents were not recognized until 1978. So I think it's very, very significant. Here in Hawaii, we also refer to it as Kupuna Day. So yesterday when I came to Kona, I told my sister, the kupuna has arrived. I never thought I'd refer to myself as a kupuna, but you get to accepting it. And you say, I'm a kupuna now. So I had to navigate through the airport. I haven't been there in a number of months, I guess. And so when I got there, I had to figure out where to go to check in, how to go through TSA, through the gates and all of that. And so kupuna, it takes a little while to get through the airport. So anyway, this day is observed to express our thanks to Grandma and Grandpa. I read a joke the other day. Did you know that the simplest toy, one which even the youngest children can operate, is called a grandparent? Isn't that true, right? Yeah. How many of you still have grandparents? And there's a number of you here who are younger, have grandparents around you. Some of you may have had your grandparents living with you, you older ones, or living nearby as you were growing up. You probably have many stories to share about your grandparents, weaving your own experiences and points of view when you spend time with them. Many first and second generation grandparents were old-fashioned and stern, at least in our point of view. However, their influence on their grandchildren often left lasting impressions. I remember asking former Bishop Reverend Eric Matsumoto, which all of us know, as a Kona boy, I asked him, you grew up in Kona. Whatever possessed you to become a minister? And his answer, and he's repeated this many times in many of his messages, he said he often shares about his grandmother, his maternal grandmother, who had a great influence on him as a young boy growing up. While his parents were busy picking coffee, she gently taught him Buddhist practices, guiding him with grandmotherly love She spoke to him in Japanese, which led him later to learn the language in depth. He honors and appreciates his grandmother for the impact she has made in his life. Now, some years later, when I met Blaine, Blaine too mentioned his grandmother, right, Blaine? Yeah. So grandmothers have a great influence on children. And I'm sure you can recall your grandparents or your grandmother, your grandfather, who had something to do with the way you are now. So how many of you are grandparents? As we journey through the stages of our lives, one of the milestones has to be the day we officially become grandparents. There are just no words to describe the happiness felt in holding your baby's baby. And what is this emotion called? Joy, a sense of wonder, gratitude, delight, fulfilling, pride, future. It's all of these feelings mixed together and rolled up like a warm blanket that makes you smile more and dream bigger. I vividly remember the first time I met my grandson Brady in Kapiolani Women's and Children's Medical Center. First, as I carried him, I carefully checked the little package in my arms. Eyes, 2. Nose, 1. Mouth, 1. Ears, got 2. Fingers, counted all of them. 10, thank goodness. And toes, 10 also. So they were all accounted for. And I took a deep sigh of relief. My husband and I thought our grandson was the most beautiful creation in the whole wide world, even with his funny, scrunched up red face. Unbelievable. At last, we labeled ourselves Grandma Nancy and Grandpa Roy. We even talked to him in baby talk. Oh, you're so cute, and that kind of talk that we normally would think would be pretty funny. But, it's so funny. Someone said, if I had known how wonderful it is to have grandchildren, I'd have had them first. Wonder of all wonders. There is nothing quite like a grandchild who grabs your little pinky or your finger, your pointer finger, and pulls on it and holds on very tightly, which then pulls onto your heartstrings. Have you had that happen? It's a magical feeling. This is, as Piper Toyama would say, a Nembutsu moment. It's unbelievable. Hook, line, and sinker, you're a sucker for life. I think having grandchildren is the reward you get for not killing your kids, right? There are times when you feel like killing your children, and then they have grandchildren, and then it's like, oh, so wonderful. Why is it that grandchildren seem to grow up so fast? There are so many incredible firsts that happen as you watch them develop. It's so exciting to see them rolling on the floor, crawling and coming up to a sitting position. Then before long, they're holding onto your leg and trying to stand up. Sometimes they fall, they cry, but get up and try again, a sense of resilience. Just like the Daruma doll. Next thing you know, they're actually vertical, like human beings, and standing on their wobbly legs and starting to walk. Those are magical moments. We see their character developing too. There's nothing like seeing a grandchild that is happy, healthy, and full of energy. If you're not careful, they are watching you and listening to you when you think they're not. I often say, yoisho, when going up steps. That's for that extra oomph. One day, I heard Brady say, oisho, when he climbed into the car. And it's so funny to listen to them. That made us laugh a lot. Now, I was so touched by young Brady. I think he was about 8 years old. He demonstrated such kindness and thoughtfulness. And you need to capture these and you need to write them down if you're a grandparent. One evening, we all went out to celebrate my husband's birthday at a hotel in Waikiki. The restaurant was quite a distance away from the front of the hotel. Brady, being younger, just scurried on up front. But then he turned around and he noticed that Grandpa Roy was walking rather slowly. So he turned around and came back, and he looked up and said this to his grandfather. Here, Grandpa, put your hand on my shoulder. That was a sight that I have captured and placed in my heart forever. So it's like, Grandpa, put your hand on my shoulder so I can help you walk a little faster. Each grandchild brings new experiences and expectations. Our role as grandparents then is to accept them as they are, to have fun with them when they're with us, to nurture them, and to guide them. Then send them home to their parents. Breathe a sigh of relief and take a long nap. Until next time. Our retirement years have been filled with precious and beautiful memories with our grandchildren at different stages in their growth. We took them to the zoo, to the aquarium, to the Children's Discovery Center. We picked them up from the preschool. We went to the mall, and then he would run and find treats and toys, and it didn't matter how expensive it was, we treated him. We attended preschool graduations, Kupuna Day, May Day programs, taking him to baseball practice and watching him play in a real game. Most of the time, as grandparents, we try to stay within our boundaries because they have parents, right? Talking about baseball, here's a really wonderful story that I want to share, and it starts like this. At one point, during a little league baseball game, the coach called one of his 9-year-old baseball players aside and sat him aside and said, "Do you understand what cooperation means? And do you know what a team is?" The little boy nodded. "Do you understand that what matters is not whether we win or lose, but that we played together as a team?" Again, the little boy agreed. The coach continued, "I'm sure you know when an out is called, you shouldn't argue, curse, attack the umpire, or call him a bad name. Do you understand that?" The little boy nodded. The coach continued, "And when I take you out of the game so that another boy gets a chance to play, it's not good sportsmanship to call your coach a backside, is it?" The little boy shook his head, "No." "Good," said the coach. "Now, you go over there and explain all that to your grandmother." Yes, sometimes we can get carried away. Many of you may remember my mom, Aiko Yamane, who was an active temple member. She raised 4 daughters and was grandmother to 8 grandchildren and babysat over 50 children. So that's a lot of kids that she dealt with. She was a terrific grandmother and a babysitter. When my first 2 sons were born, she flew out to Honolulu, the very beginning, as soon as I got out of the hospital, to help me and taught me so much about taking care of a newborn baby, how to hold them, what not to do, what to do. Even if she got sprayed unexpectedly, she laughed out loud and showed me how much she loved them. When our youngest son was barely a year and a half, she flew out again to bring him home to Kona to babysit him for about 2 weeks. Meanwhile, my husband and I took the older 2 boys to the mainland and toured and went to many of the amusement parks in California. And then we flew back to Kona to pick up our youngest son. She was amazing. Now, years later, when we all gathered at Teshima's in June 1994 to celebrate my mom's 80th birthday, we all got to toast and roast her. Each of her 8 grandchildren spoke at the party. I'd like to share these excerpts from my 3 sons. And these are, again, I guess it varies. It's just that, these things are so important to me that I keep them. And so I thought, when can I share them? Well, today is a great opportunity. This is from my youngest son, who was then 20 years old. Grandma, I'd like to say on behalf of my brothers that we're sorry there are no great grandchildren yet, but we are working on it. First of all, I want to say thank you for teaching me how to laugh at myself. I'll probably never forget the trip we took to the mainland together and the time at Universal Studios. You took a long time in the toilet. And then when you came out, you pulled out that toilet seat tissue from your pants. You were funny. But seriously, I think my experiences with grandma have prepared me for my life in the future. Because you taught me how to use the toilet, but I had to figure out for myself which direction to face. Thank you, Grandma, and happy birthday. A second son at that time was 25 years old. First of all, Grandma, happy 80th birthday. I grew up in Honolulu amongst all the busy people, heavy traffic, and busyness of city life. When I come to Kona, I look forward to seeing my aunties, uncles, cousins, and especially Kona Grandma. Grandma would always greet us with a smile and hug, take us to the store to buy candy, keep our stomachs filled with Ono food, and best of all, let us burn the rubbish in the backyard. We couldn't do that in Honolulu. When we were with Grandma, time would slow down. Smiles would be on our faces, and laughter would fill the air. And then it gets very philosophical. When a coffee farmer plants the first coffee bean, through hard work and love, he dreams of many seasons of bountiful harvest. Grandma, you've planted the seeds for many future generations. Through your love, nurturing, and dedication, your dream and our dreams are coming true. Thank you and happy birthday, Grandma. The third one is from the oldest son, and at that time he was 27. For me, Kona equals Grandma. As kids, we would visit every summer. I remember the fishing, the picnics, the early mornings eating breakfast with Grandma, and my excitement, like everybody else said, when it was time to burn rubbish. For some reason, that really stuck to there, because in Honolulu, we had trash men coming to pick up our trash. But in Kona, Grandma would take them out to the backyard, and she would make a pile, and she would tell them, okay, we're going to burn rubbish now. And they would just stir it around and have a grand time playing. Of course, these are boys, right? So they enjoy playing with anything that's burning. So he said, I remember so many toys and some of the different children my grandmother would care for during those long summer days. Today, and he gets very philosophical again. This is another son, right? He says, today I feel her strength, her longevity, her pride. Grandma, you are the foundation, the spring from which we all take inspiration and refreshment. In other words, Grandma, I am forever grateful, and you will always be a part of who I am. And of course, I love you. So these are the three boys that I have. Now, the older two have become medical doctors, and the last son has become informational system kind of techie kind of guy. So this is Grandma's three grandsons. And the other three sisters that I have all had daughters. So my mom ended up with 5 granddaughters and my my sons with her 3 grandsons. So it's, I don't know about this. She had 4 daughters, has 5 granddaughters, and 3 grandsons. Somehow nature has a funny way, it doesn't balance out. But I think Grandma appreciated all of these comments from all of her grandchildren. So as you can see, most grandchildren have special relationships with their grandparents that sometimes we as parents don't really know. Grandparents can create memories that the heart holds forever. Grandchildren see their grandparents as their links to the past with old photo albums and funny stories they like to tell. They remember certain experiences, lessons learned, and good fun times spent together. These are unrepeatable moments they will always cherish. Now, reading has always been my passion. I've enjoyed reading bedtime stories to my sons and grandsons, reading stories with my students in the classroom, and sharing relevant stories in my Dharma talks. In this media driven age, let's help our grandchildren discover the magic of books, real books. Reading with a child is still one of the warmest and most magical experiences we can share. This is precious time worth spending together. Grandma with grandson, with a book in hand, with the TV, the computer, the cell phone, all turned off. Now, here is a lift the flap board book for your little baby grandchild. They can chew on it, throw it around, bang it around, they can even sit on it. The title of this one is called Toes, Ears, and Nose by Marion Duane Bauer. It's a very short one. It's a young, it really helps a young child identify body parts. And I've enjoyed reading this, and I'm going to move. Because they, and then you point out the different body parts to them. Inside my mittens, I've got fingers. So it's a little flat. Pretty soon these flaps will fall off. I'll point out, from the beginning. You'll love to see that. Inside my boots, I've got toes. Point out how many of them are there? How many do you have? So they learn about their toes. Under my hat are two ears. The word ears is here, so you can also spell it for them. And beneath my scarf is a nose. My shirt sleeves hide my elbow. And this is a part of the body that many children don't identify. You can show them very early. Where is your elbow? About two. My blue jeans protect my knee. My coat protects my back. And this is the one we love most of all. And keeps my belly buttons out of the breeze. And they love to point out their belly button. For some reason, that's a very important part of their body. Inside my mouth, I've got teeth. And something else is in there too. Tongue. They love to stick their tongue out, flap it around. And behind my glasses are two eyes. They're both looking at you. But the very best secret of all, better than the toes or tongue or knee, if you look beneath my blanket, you will find all of me. They will just love this because, that's all of me. And they will ask you to read it over and over and over until you're so tired. And then, then pretty soon you'll find that they're able to read it on their own. They're starting to identify body parts, and they will start reading it to themselves, and they'll read it to you. So, it can go a long way. Enjoy reading to your grandchildren. Preschoolers and kindergartners enjoy having books read to them too. So they love easy and funny storylines with very colorful illustrations. with your grandchild on your lap, beside you, on the floor, as you know, preschool, kindergarten teachers do is have the children sit on the floor, sit on you put on a chair, and then read to them. Or if you're doing bedtime stories, lie in the bed with them until they fall asleep. Read to them every chance that you have. There are so many wonderful books out there. Everything that you can remember, from Dr. Seuss to Winnie the Pooh to Charlotte's Web and so many more. In closing, enjoy Grandparents' Day in gratitude and in God's show. I hope your children will see the positive impact you as grandparents have made on their children. Remember, grandchildren are the dots that connect the lines from generation to generation. You were a terrific audience. I know some of you are getting a little sleepy, but that's okay. Your children do that too. Thanks for listening, and let's put our hands together and repeat the name Rutsu. Namo. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being our Grandparents' Day speaker, Mrs. Shimamoto. Kira Nishihara Estrada will lead us in unison reading of the Eightfold Path to Happiness. Words can be found on the handouts and on the screen. Please join her in reciting the words out loud.
Eightfold Path to Happiness. The, the teachings of the Buddha help us to understand the oneness of all life. To lead us in the right direction, the Buddha provided us the Eightfold Path. Right views to keep free of prejudice and superstition to see the true nature of life. Right thoughts to turn our mind away from violence and hatred. Right speech to refrain from harmful talk and to our precisely. Right conduct to see that our deeds come from peace and goodwill. To grow every day in the Buddha's teaching. Right livelihood to try to learn our living in such a way that avoid causing suffering. Right energy to use our energies to promote overcoming the ignorance and destruction desires. Right mindfulness to cherish a good mind, for all that we think and do has its roots in the mind. Right meditation to study the teachings of the Buddha and to practice them to the best of our abilities. May the presence of the Buddha, who said that he would live in his teachings, be our guide. May we follow this path until we too realize nirvana.
Thank you, Kira. We will now have the offertory presentation. Mahalo for everybody's generosity. Please rise as we will conclude this service with singing of the Gatha Nambutsu.
Namandam, 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 namandam.
Please be seated. This concludes today's Grandparents' Day service. Here are some announcements. Upcoming schedule of services, events, and reminders. This afternoon from 2 o'clock to 3:15 p.m., you are invited to attend an Advanced Healthcare Directive workshop sponsored by Community First Hawaii. Registration is free. This workshop will explain step by step how to complete your Advanced Healthcare Directive, which becomes your voice if you are unable to speak due to illness. You can choose to attend in person here at the temple or Zoom in from your home. Autumn Ohigan service will be observed next Sunday, September 17th at 10 o'clock a.m. In-person guest speaker will be Reverend Shindo Nishiyama of Jikoen Honganji in Honolulu. Thursday, September 21st, the annual Ring Your Bells for Peace Day event will be held at 8:30 a.m. here at the temple. It has become a worldwide event, so please join in on the simultaneous ringing of the bells for peace around the world. The Kona Honganji preschool students will be participating in the temple too. Sunday, September 24th service, there has been a change. Instead of a Dharma family service, we'll zoom in on a Maui Wildfires Memorial service hosted by Hawaii Hompa Honganji Ministers Association and Maui's Minister Association. Service will start at 10 a.m. A memorial message will be given by Bishop Mumitani. All donations from the service will go to the HHMH Maui Wildfire Relief Fund. Please come to the temple and we will participate virtually and watch the service from our monitors. After the service, we will enjoy fellowship and refreshments. You can also Zoom in from your home by registering online, after which you will receive the Zoom link. Saturday, September 30th, you are invited to attend a family caregiver resource fair from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the Kona Honganji Social Hall. Attendees will receive helpful information on resources available, hospitalization of their loved ones, and levels of care. The event is sponsored by the Kona Community Hospital and is free to the public. Reminders. Be sure to open, read, and click on attachments and interesting links that were included with Reverend Blaine's weekly update, which he emailed this past Friday. 2023 temple membership update forms have been mailed out and are also attached to Reverend Blaine's email. Please be sure to complete and return them as soon as possible. Free COVID test kits with expiration dates in October 2023 are still available. Please help yourself because COVID is still lurking within this community. Any other announcements, Reverend Blaine or anyone else?
I just want to thank Nancy Shimamoto for joining us, coming home to Kona to be with us. And Nancy's an old friend from our time together at Mo'ili'ili Honganji. So interesting enough, right? So when I was president of Mo'ili'ili, we have to always look for our successors, yeah? And so I had lunch one day with Nancy and with the Reverend Earl, and we gently convinced her to be the next president. So, yeah. Yes. There's no bruises or permanent marks. So, but thank you very much for joining us and for being here and for sharing a wonderful a message. And you can tell the teachers, yeah, right? All the teachers are like, yeah, we know, yeah. So. But thank you. And then also thank you to Harrison for mentioning both of the Advanced Healthcare Directive workshop happening this afternoon here in the temple. If you just want to show up, I can register you when you show up and have information packets, and we'll be watching the presentation online together. So That'll be at 2 o'clock this afternoon. And then please definitely plan to join us for the Caregiver Resource Fair on the 30th of September. At one point or another, we'll either be caregiving or we'll need being cared for. So good to be able to kind of get that information ahead of time. And so flyers for both are in the back, so please check that out. Also, September is Suicide Prevention Month, so we have ribbons. Please take one and support suicide awareness. And in my email, weekly emails, I have information on suicide prevention and also the 988 crisis hotline that people can access to receive care. Suicide has touched our Sangha, and so I think it's important for us to all be aware and to kind of learn more about mental health issues. So again, thank you all for coming, and please join us for refreshments after.
Any other announcements? Those of you on Zoom, you may leave at any time. Those of you here in person, refreshments will be served in the social hall. Mahalo to Lynn Katayama, Lisa Siriaco, and anyone else who brought goodies to share. Again, to all grandparents, happy Grandparents' Day. Thank you for joining us, and please remember to get your flu shot and stay safe. We hope to see you at future Sunday services. Thank you.
And great job, Harrison.